Hello, my name is Cherise Sisu, and I am here with my dear friend Marie Dion, author of Journey of a Red Soul. We just wanted to let you all know why I created this GoFundMe in the first place, a little bit of the background of how this journey came to be, and and just to answer some of the questions that have come up through the course of our campaign. Marie is like a soul sister to me. She's a dear, dear friend. And I have received so much from her, her wisdom, her healing. A few months ago in particular, I had a miscarriage. And I thought that I was like over it. And then I went to visit my friend. And she was like, oh, well, there's some healing to do here. And so we did ceremony, and it was profoundly healing for me. It was when this opportunity arose to give back, I was super excited to do that. And when she told me the story behind this mission that she is going on, I was completely fascinated and totally aligned. I would love to welcome Marie into the conversation.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello. 10 years ago, my to-be husband at the time wanted to go to a gun show, and normally I've never been to a gun show. Like it's not something I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's not your scene.
No. So we were going for just a casual day, and I was barely looking at anything, and then I walked up and I saw this man's table with all these native artifacts. Mm-hmm. So as I walked up and I saw this sacred object, my jaw dropped, and I was like, what are you doing with that? I was just, I was floored. And he looked at me in fear, like, cause he knew I was calling him on it, and he knew it was coming from a place of knowing. I had a girlfriend with me who had went with us, and she was standing there, and he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we can't buy it from you. It's a sacred object. Like,
sure,
you're not allowed to sell it.
I just want to pause it for a second, because to make clear to the audience, like what you were seeing on the table, the object was all put together as if for ceremonial use, which is like, you only do that in ceremony. God, yeah. And that's where the desecration came from. And
we can't even describe it and talk about it. Like, it's like, to do this is like, okay, how do we talk about this sacred object without talking about it, right?
Can I ask why we can't talk about it?
Anything sacred for use in ceremony is really protected, I'd say, by the ancestors and the spirits. So we are very careful of things that hold power and right. that actually hold healing. And it's like taking the Eucharist out of a Catholic church, and giving it to people as a snack.
Right.
Right. Like,
that's such a good example. Yeah.
Our sacred things are just as holy.
Right.
So I said to him, I can't buy it. You can't sell this, right? And I believe it was stolen from a burial site from very long ago. Like, this is something that should never be in the hands of anybody.
Sure.
Except for the owner or his family.
Right.
So my girlfriend said, well, why don't you trade for it? She's an amazing artist. Why don't you trade her some of her work for it? And he looked at me and he goes, well, I could do that. And I said, well, and we made arrangements. I would show up the next morning, which was an hour away. It wasn't like it was down the street. So right. I came home and I packed a bunch of my work in my car, and I'm like, I made my husband drive me back in the morning, because I was just so like emotional about this, right?
Yeah.
So I get in the car and I go, and we're getting ready to go, and I'm flanked by spirit warriors on both sides. Flanked like a line of warriors, as if like we were going into battle.
Yeah.
And I lost my breath.
Yeah. Well, and what I think is so amazing is that those warriors, they're not your ancestors, right?
No, they weren't my ancestors. And I had only really communicated with my ancestors. I had
Right.
never like had all these other natives like with me like this before.
Yeah.
That was their way of showing me to keep going to do this,
Yeah.
you know? So we got there, and he basically took everything out of my car
Yeah.
in exchange for this piece. He was whatever, like I didn't care.
When we were talking about the origins of the object, and that here you found it in New England, but it came from South Dakota. So how did you come to know that?
I was going to be going to a sweat lodge ceremony with a Lakota man
Mm-hmm.
in another couple of weeks. And I said, oh, perfect. I will bring this to him. Right? Like my culture, I'm Blackfoot, Micmac, and Maliseet. So I'm not Lakota. So
Right.
I don't know, like, so we all do our ceremonies a little different. I'd never gone to a Lakota sweat lodge.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Canada for our ceremonies. So this was all kind of new to me. So I went, and this man and I talked, and after I had told him about the acquiring of this,
Mm-hmm.
and after the lodge, he had gotten some messages about it. You're gonna have to take it back to the Black Hills and put it to rest. And I said, I'm gonna have to what? I had never been out of New England.
Sure.
I go to Canada on the East Coast. Like, I don't know anybody out there. I don't even know where I would go. Like, and he was like, well, you have to do this now. You are tasked with this. And I was taken aback.
Sure.
And I was mad at him. Like, I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you go out there, you fly out there, you rent a car, and you just go. You'll be guided by the spirits. And I'm like,
right, like it's no big deal.
yeah.
This happens all the time. Well, what I love about this moment in the story is how, you know, you really felt like the work had been done. You were like, I rescued the object and I'll be able to hand it over. And, you know, and just knowing and finding and coming to find out that, like, oh, your role is actually just beginning.
I then brought it to my chief at my Micmac Reserve in Canada. And I told him what had happened, and told him, and I brought it to him, and I said, here, I would like some guidance on this. Like, what should we do, right? I did not have any plans of going to the Black Hills.
Sure.
So my chief had said to me that it was so desecrated that it needed to go with one of the men for 4 years through our ceremonies to be healed.
Wow.
Because it was that badly treated.
Like traumatized.
Yeah. And after that, I would get it back, and I would then have to proceed with whatever I needed to do, which was to bring it back, right? When I did receive it back, the spirit that belonged to this piece started to speak to me. He introduced himself.
Yeah.
He introduced, like, he's told me a few things, and I knew it was from very long ago, because he told me at one point he could not believe the women in this day and age had to do women things and men things.
Right.
And that he felt bad for me.
Wow.
That he could not believe the pace of life and all that I had to do in my day-to-day as a woman, but I had to cross what he thought were the boundaries of being a man.
Wow.
From his perspective, right?
So
I formed a friendship with the spirit.
Yeah.
And he's been with me for years. And, you know, and then this is the 10-year mark. They said, you know, you have 10 years to get this back. So this winter, I had a very tough winter. I've been out of work. I got hurt. I was like flat on my back, which never happens to me. Like, I'm
Right.
very vital, right? I've never
Yeah.
been in that situation. And I literally had the conversation with this spirit, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to get you home. Maybe a month later, the women from the nonprofit that I have associated with the book
Mhm.
reached out to me and said, we're going to South Dakota. And I said, of course you are.
Of course you are.
It just so happens that over the course of the winter, I know, I went to another couple of sweat lodges with a dear friend of mine,
Mhm.
and she had this woman who came out from Custer, South Dakota, doing ceremony with us for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So I met this woman, and we became friends, and I told her about me maybe having to go out there at some point. She said, oh, you can come stay with me and we'll figure it out. We'll do lodge. And if you haven't figured it out by the time you get to me,
Mhm.
we will figure out how to put this to rest and where to bring it, right? So I am going out kind of blind as far as being guided by spirit. I am going with the nonprofit, and of course, the reason that you had put that in there in the campaign is because this trip isn't for me. It's not a vacation,
Yeah.
and any extra money, and because I overgive anyway, I will be taking care of the kids at the reservation and
Yeah.
teaching them art and doing all these things that I've already, bought supplies, and, there's a lot of whatever's extra is going to go right to them, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I will, when all of this is done, I'm going to be, well, since I'm already out there, my Blackfoot chief is having their ceremonies. So I contacted him, and I'm actually going to go up and for the first time be able to partake in the ceremonies with my Blackfoot family.
Wow.
So I think that would be, so I'm out there a lot longer
Yeah.
than I thought.
Okay. So now this next piece is just receiving the support to get you there, to cover the travel costs. You need to rent a car, which is a big chunk of the expenses. There are going to be some lodging costs that are out of pocket. I know you mentioned that you'll be camping on reserves.
Oh, yeah, in tents and cabins, and people are really taking care of me,
Yeah.
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 And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Any surplus, should there be any, is going right to the nonprofit. So everything is being donated. I think it's just an epic journey, and it's just a little bit to get you there. And I think we're really on the brink of that. Is there anything that you would like to add, just to say to the folks who are considering or who are donating today?
Well, I'm very humbled by all of this. I've never been in a position of receiving. I've always been the one that's helped others.
Yeah.
And it's been it's been overwhelming to me, even the support I've gotten already. The whole reason I connected the book to the nonprofit is because my heart is full of what they're doing for people. And this group, who's been together for 34 years, their hearts are in the right place, and they're just doing it behind the scenes, and they're doing it in a quiet way.
Yeah.
I feel like this whole journey it's gonna change me somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna come back different. But I hope that I become a better human being from this.
This is about forgiveness, right? This is about righting a very, very old and ancient wrong. And the trauma that's been experienced by the indigenous people that lived here before the rest of us came has been largely unacknowledged. And I feel like this is just like the next step in a long history of just of reckoning, of reconciliation, and of healing, you know, healing backwards, healing forwards. So I see it in this larger historical context.
And that gentleman of the gentleman that belongs to this, that spirit, he said, I have no family that's alive. My object can't go to anybody else but my family.
Wow.
And there's no descendants. It needs to go to rest, you know, and
yeah.
You know, as much as, you know, I've helped whatever, like, it's not my place. I can't keep it any longer.
Right.
Yeah. And it's multi-generational.
Yeah.
Like, if we heal something in this time and space, it ripples out to before us and after us.
Yeah.
You know, because we're always learning.
Yeah.
You know? I already feel like I know nothing because of this journey. Like, everything that I've been on this path for 30 years, I know nothing.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like, it's I'm seeing how this journey is impacting you, and I think the ripple effect is really beautiful. I just want to thank everyone who has joined us, and thank you for your support. Thank you, Marie, for joining us today and sharing a little bit more about your story and how you came to be on this journey. All donations are wonderful, and please help us spread the word. Share this video, share the GoFundMe campaign. So much love to you.
Om Signogama is all my relations in Mi'kmaq. So Om Signogama Aho Matakweyasi, to honor the Lakota, and Nitsakoi, Blackfoot. So yeah, Om Signogama Aho Matakweyasi, Nitsakoi.